From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? It's Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's. Right after this is over with, I'm going to go to Zaxby's. You can come with me, Corey. You should come with me.
I might. I haven't decided yet. Oh, not because I would ever turn down an invitation to Zaxby's, just because I gotta. I ate a little later than most people would for a lunch.
Corey does not have the. I don't know. I eat like every 2 hours. I'm like a machine.
Right.
But you're a forager in a store. Like you eat food, you forage and you eat, and then you're good.
And then I'm good
6
for a while.
hours.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think it's weird to eat every 2 hours, but
it probably is. But
you're burning. You got the metabolism. You're burning it.
Exactly, man. Try to get these abs outside of this woolly chest I have. I'm going to check out the Sensation. The Sensation's filet chicken sandwich.
Okay.
The one that's got the red cabbage and the carrots and the Asian slaw. And it's got the egg roll on the side, vegetable egg roll, which is a big point of contention between me and the home office. They were going to obviously put an egg roll, add to give a little more of that Asian fusion flavor. And I'm like, can we just keep it chicken or like a chicken egg roll, vegetable egg roll? Because usually it's pork egg roll. And I don't eat pork. Your guy doesn't eat swine. And we went back and forth, and they're like, all right, we'll go ahead. We'll launch it with a vegetable egg roll. So feels cool to know that they're listening to me.
Report back and let us know how it is. The egg roll is intriguing. For sure. I love egg rolls. Yeah.
Also, they also have a Minute Maid peach fizz that the flavor profile is supposed to It's like a wine. Like they're pairing food with drink at Zaxby's now. Indescribably good, Corey.
That's what Zaxby's is and what it's always been and will always be.
And the great thing is I'm going to still dip it in Zax sauce and it'll all work out fine.
Well, yeah, when in doubt. Right?
Even with like the honey vinaigrette.
You could dip an egg roll in Zax sauce all day.
Ooh. I was talking about the sandwich.
No, the egg roll too, man. All of it.
I haven't had a sandwich at Zaxby's with the Texas toast as like the bun. I've had the.
Oh, yeah, those are good too.
I've
had those. Yeah.
Sandwich. So this has got the Texas toast.
Yeah, Texas toast is every restaurant should have Texas toast. Zaxby's does it great.
All right, I'm getting excited. Whoa, chill out.
Sorry.
Okay.
Just rubbed his chest.
Sorry. So Willie spoke on Thursday. We're recording this on a Thursday, but it's for your listening pleasure on a Friday. By the way, not to run the flag for warchant.com too high and,
do it, man.
mighty.
Do it.
We are, I know we joke a lot and we do like self-deprecating humor on the show sometimes, but we're like ESPN of Florida State coverage. Like there was a time where ESPN actually had team reporters. Florida State's fallen on hard times. They don't get a reporter anymore. But the fact that the press conference
nobody in the ACC does, I don't think.
I'm sure Clemson's got to have it.
I don't think so. I don't think there's a ESPN Clemson. I think they just did away with all of them.
You're right. Yeah, I meant you're right. They had the whole ESPN Dallas, ESPN Los Angeles, ESPN Chicago. But then they had like team reporters, like the Shanker guy used to do Florida State.
Yep.
There's got to be somebody that's embedded.
I don't think so.
Maybe Marty Smith, but Marty Smith kind of floats. He's a national guy. Anywho, so the press conference goes down. The whole entire time, Ira is putting out updates on the thread on the message board, Tribal Council. You're tweeting out updates. I'm filming the actual press conference. Press conference is over. Video goes up onto the website. Ira starts penning out his is he doing a 3-2-1 on this, I think?
No, he's doing like a 5 takeaways.
5 takeaways. Look at that. Mm-hmm. And then you and Ira film a stand-up with your guys' takeaways, kind of just initial reactions. We're just going to go right off the cuff. And then we come back here, and then we actually do a podcast. So
you get in every platform you could possibly imagine. Text, Twitter, probably Facebook.
Yep.
Obviously, on War Chant, you got the threads, you got the message boards, you got a video of Ira and I, you've got the Taggart video itself. Yeah. It's all. You definitely get your money's worth of War Chant.
And now, as you're driving into work or driving on a vacation or sitting at the desk, now we're going to kind of talk about what transpired with Willie's sort of comments. Oh, real quick though, before we get to that, Jacksonville Beach, Friday, August 30th, the night before the Boise State game. Surfer, the bar. Jacksonville Seminole Club, Florida State University Alumni Association co-production. the premier kickoff party as the 2019 season gets set to go on the 31st, Saturday night against Boise State. Whole War Chant family will be out there. Go to Seminoles.com/kickoff2019, Seminoles.com/kickoff2019 to get your tickets to the event. Corey, are you gonna bring out the 8x10s?
I mean, I'll probably bring. Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like I have to. What do you think? Like 30 of them or 50? It would be funny if we gave those away. Like if me and you took a picture, like an Olin Mills type picture, like they do at radio stations, and then signed them. Yeah. Probably won't though. But I'll be there.
Does Cameron have?
I don't think so.
Does he do 8x10s?
He might have at one point, but no. Hopefully, radio personalities have stopped doing that nonsense, because who in the world would put that up anywhere in their house?
My station in Dothan did that.
Yeah, what would people do with them?
I don't know. It was ridiculous. Anyhow, all right. Sorry about that. Let's start talking about the team. So
yeah, if you want to meet any of us at the warchant.com crew,
Gene,
we'll
Ira, Michael Langston, Corey,
maybe Austin. Maybe Austin's coming over. Maybe Austin the intern.
Austin 316.
Maybe he'll be there. But yeah, or Stephanie. Stephanie will be there. So it'll be a good time. Good time for everyone.
Okay, very well. All right. So I mean, we only went for over 30 minutes. I think close to like 35 minutes speaking to the media on Thursday, the assembled media. He did not like our energy level.
Right.
We did not bring the requisite amount of juice. Sorry about that, Willie.
Well, we did.
I think I did.
I think we did fine, yeah.
I feel like I did pretty all right. Although, you see the way he looked at me when I asked him about the special teams thing? Like I was crazy when I said that, you look like, Dugans was helping out with gunners and Clemens was helping out with, like, field goal protection during spring. He kind of had this look like, what? Are you sure? Like, why do you always ask me these weird questions, kid? I'm like, hey, man, just
he probably didn't call you kid, though.
Yeah, hopefully he didn't call me kid. Then the whole Twitter outrage. Please, we can't. It's politics. I can't get into that. So there's so much. There really is a lot to talk about, and I don't want the show to be that long, but we're already 7 minutes into it. I guess. So what I found interesting, obviously, I guess Stanford Samuels is most likely Stanford Samuels Jr., father of Stanford Samuels III, current cornerback, current defensive back on the roster, is coming as a defensive analyst. There was no other. I mean, Ira left the door wide open, like, hey, who are you bringing in?
Right.
What's the plan there? And Stanford Samuels is the only person that he mentioned. He didn't say, well, that's all we're going to do, or
he said
we're trying
that's
to bring.
it.
Did he say that's it? Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, you and I had spoke about it. I don't have anything really much more insightful to add, but yeah, if Jim Leavitt, if he didn't say Jim Leavitt Thursday, I don't know when Jim Leavitt comes to Florida State, and if it's going to be 2019. Doesn't sound like that ship sailed.
Right.
I believe
makes,
so.
I mean, it would be weird if he added somebody in a few days or 7 days. Like, what would have been worked out tonight or tomorrow that wasn't worked out the last 6 months?
Yeah.
So
the analyst role, I got kind of excited. I'm like, oh, that's good, because Harlan, he's got too many kids back there. I mean, what?
Yeah.
I don't know, 13 kids? I mean, I don't even know how many kids are on scholarship in the secondary. I can probably look that up at some point when Core gets going. But yeah, the fact that, that would give him another, helper out there, but you can't coach. You can't have direct coaching. You can't do in-game coaching. You can't coach at practice. So it's just another guy to help with film study and break things down and, help with game prep, which, I mean, it's any help on the defensive side of the ball is needed at this point, but I don't know if that's really what Florida State fans who had concerns about the defense were. It's not the silver bullet.
Well, no, but I don't know that Leavitt would have been either in that role.
Exactly. Yeah,
I mean, there's
right.
just not a silver bullet that can be had. You just hope they get better, and you trust that Harlan Barnett is the guy that you thought you hired. And he struggled last year. His defense struggled last year, but everybody struggled last year. So you just hope he gets he can get this defense. And again, I know it's probably a different level. Well, not probably. It's a different level of play in the ACC than it was in the Big Ten. These offenses aren't nearly as easy to defend as they are up in the plodding northern tundra that he dealt with in East Lansing. But he's proven that he's a good defensive coordinator. He's proven that he's been around really good defenses. Like Michigan State's defense a few years ago, Michigan State was in the playoff.
They were.
Only because of that defense. Held a incredibly talented Ohio State team to like 14 points. So it won that game. So he's been around really good defense. He knows what he's doing. So that's the fix-all. Is Harlan Barnett becomes the guy that you thought his defense becomes the defense you thought it would, or it starts taking strides there. Because last year was really bad. It was worse than any of Charles Kelly's defenses.
I did a really quick count. I counted 17 defensive backs, and they're all actually there's 16 of them that are on scholarship. Like there's only one guy on here that I don't recognize as being a scholarship player. So That's crazy for a coordinator to handle that many guys.
Yeah.
And listen, I mean, Mario Edwards is out there helping out as well.
Yeah, there's GAs, and they know what they're teaching. They know how to teach. I mean, Harlan Barnett tells them what to teach, and then they teach it. So I think that how many linemen is our man Clements working with, or how many linemen is Odell working with? Right. Like you learn even if you're not in that starting six, you're still learning because you're watching the coach teach. You hope, and so I mean, that is a lot. That's a lot of guys to having to be, especially because you got some young dudes that really need you might play. I mean, some of your most talented guys are guys that have been on campus for 6 minutes, and you really want them to play. So you want them to get as much coaching as they can. But I do think he's got a plan for it, and I do think, the Gants and the Jays of the world might get a little special attention after practice to make sure they know what they're doing.
The thing is, and I don't want to go too far into the weeds on this, but I kind of mentioned on that stream that we did the other day. So Clemson, Louisville, NC State, Syracuse, Wake Forest all have 5 coaches that are full-time dedicated to the defense. They either coach a segment or they're the actual coordinator. Boston College, Miami, North Carolina, Virginia, Pitt, Virginia Tech, they all have 4. Pitt, UNC, and Boston College, they've got a 5th guy, so does Miami, that does special teams in like linebackers or another position segment, right? Georgia Tech's got 3 guys dedicated to defense, but they got 2 guys who coach a segment, and then one guy does offensive special teams, the other guy does defensive special teams. So like one does field goals, the other one does like kick, punt, kickoff
right.
and all that kind of stuff. And, Florida State's the only team that's got 3 guys.
Well, because Florida State's the only team that has
down.
9 coaches and not 10. So.
I just don't know how that's not going to be. It's crazy to me that's not going to manifest itself at some point.
Oh, it might, but there's nothing you can do about it now. I mean, we can lament it, but it's the reality. He wants David Kelly on this staff in a pretty big capacity, and he also wanted Ron Dugans on this staff. So,
that's the real thing there, and this is not.
Is that worth it? Like that, I know you lament this more than most, but isn't having Ron Dugans on this staff now?
I don't think so. No.
I think because he would have gone somewhere else, and then you don't have Ron Dugans. You know what I mean? He could have gone and taken another job, and then you lost out on Ron Dugans.
I think you go all in somebody needed to be on defense. This is not a knock on Dugans at all. I think Ron Dugans is a really good receivers coach, but Kendall Browse has a background coaching receivers. Make him be, help out with the receivers.
Well, then he's spread thin.
Well, then Willie's got to help out with quarterbacks.
I mean, everybody's spread thin. So you're going to be spread thin one way or the other. Basically, what you did is Odell just doesn't coach tackles anymore. He coaches the whole line of scrimmage. I don't think that's – I mean, you've watched this.
No.
Come on.
Health-wise, that's probably the next biggest story.
Imagine just getting to be a defensive ends coach.
That's what I'm saying. These coaches like Clemson, Louisville, NC State, they have either – outside linebacker, inside linebacker coach, or defensive tackles, defensive ends.
Let me ask you this. So say he doesn't hire Dugans and he hires somebody for the defense, maybe a DB's coach, but it's not Buckley.
Right.
Next year there is a possibility, and we're always floating it out there because he's part of the Wake Up War Chant family, that T-Buck is going to be joining this staff. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you take a hit in 2019 to mean that your staff in 2020 consists of both Ron Dugans and Terrell Buckley? Isn't that worth it?
The long play?
The long play. It's obviously not ideal to be 10%, have 10% fewer coaches than every other team in the country. But if it means that you have T-Buck and Dugans next year, then okay, it's worth. In my opinion, it's worth the hit.
Yeah.
It's worth the hit.
I think to your point, part of it too probably is the whole fact of
T-Buck, come on, man.
Well, it's like, will you get more benefit from adding Ron Dugans, who's probably a high-level receivers coach, or adding a defensive back coach who's not Terrell Buckley, that might be like a second-tier defensive backs coach?
Yeah, and then you have him. Like T. Buckley's not on your radar again next year. So I just think they're going to have a spot open up next year where T-Buck can be the guy. Yeah. Let's hope. We're all hoping, folks.
Yeah, come on home, man. Although you're from Mississippi and you're in Mississippi right now, so you are kind of at home.
But this is your own. This is where you made your name. Come
on. Injury news, I mentioned on the podcast yesterday before I tossed to you and Ira and myself talking about other things. So Tamarian Terry's undergone Willie didn't even specify what it was. But
no.
We know it's a knee.
Yeah, minor knee surgery.
It's minor because it's not our knee. But he won't be with the team during camp. Did say that he will be back with the team at some point.
No, I mean, he'll be Boise. He'll be with the camp a little bit. We just don't know. I mean, he'll be here. We expect him sometime in August.
He won't be here Friday.
Yeah.
Day one.
He will not be.
Yeah.
Which, Not ideal.
Not
It's your most talented offensive player, I would say. A guy that's an NFL wide receiver. And, yeah, it's a minor knee operation, sure, but when's he going to be fully healthy? When's he going to feel like running on that again? What's the odds that it could re-injure itself? That none of that is great. So, but, yeah, you also hope it's just something minor. And, you can go 10 practices without Tamorrion Terry out there because he's proven he knows what he's doing. Yeah. And just have him ready for that week against Boise.
Cole Minshew is the only, I think, other significant player that he mentioned. It might not be available when things start later on Friday. As you're listening to this, practice is probably already over. But Cole Minshew, they have no timetable on him, which that sounds a little
that's a little more ominous.
Discouraging.
Yeah, a little more dubious. That's not great because obviously he's your most experienced, maybe your best, but certainly your most experienced lineman. And, I don't even know who maybe Dante Lucas is a guy that can be on the first team. But, Minshew, when we asked Taggart, you thought he was going to talk more like he did about Terry. Like, we expect him to have him back. He's like, no, we don't have any timetable. We don't know. Right. It's like, I thought he'd be back in the spring. So this isn't encouraging. You've already lost Landon Dickerson. And, again, we've talked ad nauseum about how you couldn't really count on Landon Dickerson to be healthy. But you sure would like to have him and Minshew healthy going into 2019. Now you don't have – one's not even on the roster anymore, and the other one you don't know when you're getting them. So the – pivotal position, the critical position on this, the critical segment on this entire football team, who has no real proven talent, quite honestly. They might be talented guys, but nobody's proven it that's on this roster. Just lost their most experienced guy. Didn't just lose him, but we don't know when he's going to be back. There's a question mark even about him. So, again, it all comes back to that offensive line.
The thing, though, is, and we mentioned that this sounds maybe a little bit preposterous to some people, but if there is one spot on that offensive line where there's maybe a quasi luxury, it is on the interior. I mean, yeah. I feel good about Dante Lucas. I think Dante Lucas gives you something there. I think day one can come in.
And if it's as simple as we've been led to believe this entire offense, hopefully it's pretty simple for the O-linemen too.
And then Mike Arnold's there, and you also have Brady Scott, who maybe gets flexed back out to tackle, or maybe he stays on. So, I mean, there's Cole. You'd like Cole obviously be there, available, but there's viable solutions there. So I'm not too concerned about it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's really just a bummer. I mean, you'd like to have him. You'd like to have that would be your anchor. And again, he's not Jamie Dukes or Walter Jones or any one of these great offensive linemen of years past. But he's a guy that you could count on, that has played in a lot of big games, or sort of big games. I don't think Minshew hasn't been in any game of the centuries, let's say. But he's been in. So he's here. He's been a college football player and a starter for a good long while now. It'd be nice to have that one guy, because who else? Who else do you go in saying, okay, well, we can pencil him in the starting lineup and we know we'll get at least decent play out of? You don't have anybody. You hope Big Baby can do it. You hope Jawan maybe takes a step, or Chaz Neal, or Ryan Roberts, but the transfer from Northern Illinois, but you just don't know.
You asked Willie about the offensive line, and you mentioned tackle specifically, so shout out, my guy. I kind of zoned out there. Did he mention any offensive tackles by name? And because you asked, like,
he mentioned. I said who's in the mix at tackle. He said Ryan Roberts, Chaz Neal, and then Jawan were the three that he mentioned right offhand. So there you go.
Man,
and then he mentioned the freshmen. Red shirts are true. Like they'll all get a chance.
Wow, true freshman.
I mean, heck, man, they're all gonna. Dante's a true freshman. And,
yeah.
I mean, I know he's an early enrollee, so it's a little bit different. But
he's a grown man.
Yeah,
though, man.
But maybe he starts from day one. Maybe he'll be one of those guys. Georgia, a couple years ago, started a true freshman from day one. They had like three. The year they should have won the national championship, they had like three freshmen on the offensive line. Two of them are red shirts, but it can't happen. I don't think these guys are those guys necessarily, talent-wise. Maybe Dante is, but it can happen. I mean, and Clements might want to go with the younger guys. Who knows? Go with who's better.
Quick sidebar. I was at that game covering the national title game for the TV station in Alabama, and so since I was with TV, we were not allowed on the field until after the game was over, so they put all of us into a holding room. It was crazy. It was probably like a 10-by-10 room, but there was 50 people in there. It was disgustingly gross. I remember, Georgia kicks the field goal That's the last thing I remember is Georgia kicks a field goal in overtime.
Yeah.
And then we're in that room and someone groans and they're like, Bama lost. And I'm like, what? And then like 30 seconds later, everyone's like, the game's over. So we speed out of the room, and then you see all this confetti falling, and the tunnel that I'm walking down to get onto the field is the one that Georgia came out on. And just all these Georgia players are like really down and dejected. I'm like, what? What the hell happened? And I actually saw I saw the game-winning touchdown, but I didn't realize that they got sacked for like a 16-yard loss on the
second
first
and
play.
26. That was what made it, and they had a terrible kicker.
Yeah,
so you think,
kicker.
okay, like the Georgia kid had to make like a 52-yarder in overtime, which is nuts.
Nails, man.
And then you get them second and 27, and you're like, man, they got 3 down. They're not going to try a field goal to tie it. There's no chance. That kid had missed like a 30-yarder to win the game. So they're like, hey, they got 3 downs to get 27 yards. It's going to be tough for them. And then, no, hey, he's wide open in the end zone. Game over.
That's one of the more under-talk. I mean, I know because it's maybe recency bias, but that's going to go down as one of the most brutal losses in like college sports history, I think. No one really mentioned it all that much.
Not as brutal as Auburn's in 2013.
Yeah, sorry.
Remember that one?
My boy, KB. Right there.
I see it.
Right there.
I see it.
Did he make it on the Giants? I know they brought him in for a tryout, I think.
I don't know. I saw some stuff on Twitter that he wasn't representing himself very well.
Let's figure it out, guys. Come on, Kelvin. Let's get it back, man. Let's get that magic back. All right, so those are the injuries. We didn't specifically ask about Emmett Rice. Obviously, the wild card, the eraser.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just
right.
Woody can just come in and clean up mistakes. So
we'll see all that today, later on today, or if you're listening to this, and then, we saw it earlier today.
Yeah.
Just see who's flying around, who's moving, who's lining up where, and who's running with the first teams. I don't put a lot of stock into that. Honestly, we got a month to go, but I am interested to see who the coaches have just penciled in there. Not that any jobs have been won, because I was thinking about it when Willie was talking. Like, who definitely has a starting spot on this team? It's like 6 guys.
Right.
The Marvin, Terry if he's healthy, Cam, Nasruddin, Samuels. To me, that's it. Asante maybe, but Taylor will start in some capacity. But after that, you don't know who the linebackers are going to be. You don't know who the other D linemen are going to be. You don't know who any of the offensive linemen are going to be. So that doesn't really matter how they start out. But I am interested just in the coach's vision of the depth chart right away.
Right. Yeah, that'll have to be part of our observations, the immediate depth chart, kind of how that works out. Yeah, I mean, will it be even fronts? Will it be odd fronts? Will it, 3-4, 4-3? What are they going to do on defense? So much things to worry about. Some of the things that I found interesting, and it's just me parsing words, which I don't like doing, and I apologize really for having to do, but hey, we got a podcast, we got to talk about things. I did find it interesting that there's like subtle changes going on. Whether you talk about the fact that practice at certain junctures in the next 20 days is going to be held with the sun up, and it's going to be PM.
Yeah.
Which is
PM practices. How about that?
Man. And then he shot it down when you're like, hey, man, what about once, game week starts?
Yeah, that's back to the early practices.
But
he was going to have some 7 o'clock practices, a whole week of them, I think. Yeah. Going to have some 2:30 practices.
Yeah, I like that.
And again, I brought it up last year, probably too much on this show, but
no, you didn't. Don't let Ira bully you.
I never wrote about it, but I know when Alabama practices, I know when Georgia and Clemson practice, and it's not in the morning. And I get why he does it. It frees up their day so they can concentrate on academics, and I don't say that dismissively. But you don't play games at 9:30 in the morning, and some kids aren't completely focused at 9:30 in the morning. And it's I was one of those kids that I was still tired at 9:15 when I got to school, or 9:30. I did my best learning post-lunch, Aslan. Post-lunch. 1:30 p.m. is when I was I was dialed in. So,
Brother Clark. Ooh.
So I think that, there is something to be said for not just body clocks and practicing when you play, getting used to the heat, because you get a respite in Tallahassee when you're practicing at 9:30. Mm-hmm. 9:30 and 4 p.m., that's like a 15-degree difference. And when you're playing Boise, you want to say that you're used to the humidity and you're used to the heat. And also, I just think, some kids learn better at 4 o'clock.
Listen, man, these kids have been playing football their whole life.
Not ever have they practiced. Yeah,
after school. Pee-wee, after school. JV, after school. Varsity, after school.
Also,
like 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m.
In the issue of complete transparency, I hate getting up to
Yeah,
go watch
I do
football
too.
practice. I'd much rather do it normally like at 4 or 5.
Well, here's
or
the
whatever it
thing.
would be.
Everything
That's
is on
where
the
I'm coming from that angle more than anything else. But I do think there's some validity to what I'm saying. Probably
everything
not
has
a
to
ton.
be on the table. Everything
Yeah.
you went 5
Well,
and
it
7.
was.
Everything has to be on the
It
table.
was, so
yeah.
he did it, and that was good to see. Like, I'm sure, I don't know if he decided that on his own, how often he listens to us on this podcast. Probably a lot. I know he's a subscriber. I've seen it on his phone. And it's a joke. He doesn't show me his phone. But I didn't want people to think that, like, I was actually stealing Willie's phone to look at who subscribed to us. But, maybe Kendall Briles said, man, how about in preseason at least? Let's get these guys trying to practice at different times. Yeah. Maybe these are all auditions. Whatever time they practice the best at is the time they do it during the season. Yeah. That would be my play as head coach. But, again, I also understand class schedules. You can't alter them on the fly like that.
I don't know. I feel like that'd be. I mean, you
but
have
isn't it
all
a good
day
thing?
to take. You have all day to take classes and then come practice at 6 p.m. Like, how could that not be possible? I never took a class. I think I might have taken one 5:15 class in my career. Otherwise, everything was like 3:30. It was between like 11 a.m. and 3:30.
Right. That's what I did. My first quarter. We were on the quarter system back then. I had a 9 a.m. class. Thinking, I'm used to getting up in high school at 7:20. But in high school, I went to bed at like 11. I didn't go to bed at 2 or 3 like I did in college.
And
so then that 9 a.m. class was like, I'm not doing this.
And
again.
a nice clean liver.
Yeah, that too. Well, I didn't imbibe my freshman year much. Yeah, it was late in my freshman year that I started doing that. And my life turned around completely, and look where I am today.
Where we are, Midtown offices, Tallahassee, Florida, everybody. But yeah, I mean, the little
But it was
changes.
good. I thought it was good that he was willing to do it. It wasn't just like he was willing to fire Alonzo Hampton. He was willing to bring in Kendall Briles and let him run the show. Yeah. It is good, in my opinion, to see that he's not completely set in his ways. A 5-7 season, I don't want to say rattled him enough, but maybe woke him up enough to say, all right, well, my way isn't the only way. Let's see what else we can do around here.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was kind of interesting that he mentioned that, in years past, historically, his staffs go out on a retreat, team bonding, team building for the coaching staff. They didn't do that. It was more focused on ball. Like they just kind of, I don't know, they probably just made it sound like they had a clinic, just kind of an internal clinic. Like, hey, you get up and talk about why you scheme things the way you do. I thought that was kind of cool. And then also, and this isn't much of a change because he said it sounds in line to what they did last year, but when we would get Walt Bell before practices, the great Walt Bell, and ask about, what's this quarterback competition all about, he would, I don't know how much of Walt's stuff was just talk to audition for a job at Amherst, Massachusetts, which it obviously worked out. So, I mean, he's got the plan. But he would mention that, listen, he's like, hey, we're looking at every single throw. He said, we're grading everything. We're grading, every throw they make, completed, blah, 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 blah. And then we kind of ask Willie about, do you have any different value system when you and Kendall look at quarterbacks as opposed to what you maybe did previously? And he's like, no, we're going to look at every single throw. He said, but we're going to look at everything. He's going to look at the way, he mentioned they're going to look at the way the players respond when the quarterback is like calling out the play, is leading the huddle. Not to say that they didn't do that last year, but I feel like when you're saying that, you are paving the way for James Blackman to be your starting quarterback, which isn't maybe a surprise to a lot of people that listen to this podcast, but there's a pocket of this fan base that has very little confidence in him and wants to see what the kid from Wisconsin with the 30 career wins or whatever can do.
Yeah, but I do also think that if you'd asked Willie that last year, and I'm sure we did, he said many of the same things. It's no coach would ever just say it's, whoever throws the ball the best when it comes to the quarterback, because it's such a unique position. Jimbo used to always say that. Like, it's everything. It's how they interact with him. It's his leadership. It's his poise.
But whenever it talks about James Blackman, he always talks about the intangibles.
Yeah, yeah. And then he's setting up the intangibles being a big part of it, which they should be. If everything being equal, obviously you give it to the guy that the players respond to better, and that's not taking nothing away from Hornibrook, who apparently has done real well with the players in the offseason and has gotten along well with them. Your exclusive interview from last month. He seems to, have made some friends, and they like him. Everybody talks glowingly about the guy. So, I think it was funny, too, when Willie was talking about Hornibrook. Man, what a security blanket that guy ends up being. Because imagine if he wasn't here. And the Jordan Travis thing is still up in the air.
Yeah.
Now, I guess we think that he's probably going to get his waiver, but holy moly, we're at preseason practice now, man. Camp started. And still no word from the NCAA. But to have that guy is such a commodity, man, because what would you be doing now otherwise? It'd be Blackman, and we don't know.
Nolan McDonald, man.
That's what I'm saying. So you've got a
Wyatt Rector.
Sure. So you've got you've got a real viable competition, which would only make Blackman better, and you've also got a guy that you really do think you can depend on if something happens to Blackman, or if Blackman doesn't perform well this August. It's all good news, man. I probably made too much fun of Hornibrook, calling him Hornswoggle and talking about I didn't know he was. Why is he screwing around, acting like he's left-handed? And all that, the tweet I had.
It's all in jest. It's all in love. It's respect. Real, recognizing real.
It really is a big deal to have him here. A guy with that kind of experience, that kind of big game, those big game moments, being around a big program, winning those games.
Quarterbacks go down.
And
all the time.
Last year in February they had nothing. Francois was in limbo.
Well, February as in like 6 months ago.
Yeah. The kid had just committed to North Carolina. They had nobody coming in.
Sam Howell. Show him respect. Say his name.
No, the kid, the turncoat. Benedict Howell is what I'm going to call him. So he goes to North Carolina to play for Mac Brown, and you're left with nothing. You're literally James Blackman and nobody else. Now you have not only is Jordan Travis here, maybe, but you have a guy that you can really count. It's a big deal, man. It's a big deal for Willie and Bryles to have a backup plan. Whether it's Blackman being the backup, which would be an odd dynamic, or if it's Hornibrook being the backup, which would also be an odd dynamic because he didn't come here to watch James Blackman play.
Oh, I should read. So I bought one of the preseason preview magazines.
Okay, are you going to name it?
The Phil Steele one.
Okay.
Phil Steele will actually be on the program with us on Wednesday, I think, this coming week. So, yeah, we'll have Phil Steele on the show. But I looked at Athlon because Athlon always used to do the anonymous coach who would size up, the opposition or whatever. And it just sounds like somebody who listens to the podcast. Like there usually be cool insight in the anonymous conference coach would talk about Florida State. But he said James Blackman is good enough to start, but you have to think Alex Hornibrook didn't transfer for 1 year not to play. Well, I mean, so yeah, Hornibrook's going to start. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, awesome. $17.99 for the magazine, probably. Expensive the magazine are. Back in my day, Corey, you used to be able to buy a preseason mag and get a cup of Joe for $10.
Yeah, those days are over. Who buys preseason magazines anymore? I know you do, but you're one of the few.
I feel like I've lost.
I feel like you could get them online. I think even Phil Steele. Is Phil Steele online?
It's different, though.
I know. I'm with you. You're at the beach. That would always be when I knew college football. We'd go on our annual trip, wherever it was, the beach or wherever it was, but you'd go to the bookstore and you'd see them all lined up with Chris Winky's face on it or Darnell Dockett or Greg Jones or somebody like that. And you're like, all right, it's here.
Yeah,
we're a month away.
Let's do this.
But I haven't done that in 15 years probably.
Yeah, I just feel like I've lost. Dude, I loved college football. I mean, I won't say past tense. I was so obsessively fanatical about college football. Not just Florida State, but I loved college football. Like when I remember it was one of the first times when NCAA football would come out, and then people started, like for $3, you could ship out a memory card for your Xbox or your PlayStation to some dude, and he would upload all the rosters for all the teams in the game.
Nerd alert.
Yeah,
Nerd
for
alert.
sure. I mean, guilty, man. I remember, we'd come home from the bars and we would just play crazy things. Like, all right, man, I'm gonna be Cliff Kingsbury and Texas Tech, and you can be, Drew Brees.
You didn't do the dynasty. You didn't do the dynasty.
I never did that stuff, man. I either played online and threatened people's lives, or I would get in fights with roommates about stuff. I never did dynasty.
Fun, yeah.
I'm not a total nerd to sit there and play dynasty mode. But yeah, so I've lost such sort of like touch with the pulse of like college football, and I'm like, I need to get back into the magazines, because just looking at those lists where they'll go like they'll rank the quarterbacks by conference, or they'll say these are the top 50 draft eligible offensive linemen. Well, then you start seeing some guys from some programs, and you kind of know a little. It gives you a little bit of a surface overview, which I'm like, I miss that. Like I used to know every in and out about so many different teams and programs. And now it's like it's all Florida State.
I feel like it's a young man's game. Being an obsessive college football fan, I think is a young man's game.
I don't have you've got a girlfriend and a child. I have neither, so I don't have.
Still, you could still be in the sweet spot to do it. But you also did it. You're younger. You've seen how the sausage is made now. What's crazy is like when the poll came out on Wednesday, or Thursday. I was like, man, LSU 6th. Like what? Why? Or are there not any good teams in the country that LSU would be ranked 6th? Do they ever score points in Baton Rouge, ever? If they're not running back punts or having some pick sixes? And they're 6th in the country. again, I think where I lost some of my love for college football is that it seems so. This is weird to say, but it seems so watered down. Where I know Georgia and Clemson and Alabama, but they're all probably going to lose one game this year. And back in 1993, man, you could not do that. You couldn't do that. And you had you had 15 or 18 teams that I thought were like legitimate powers, maybe 20. And now it feels like there's 2. That's it. Yeah. Michigan's not a power. LSU's not a power. Look at that top 15 or top 20. How many of those schools are like powerhouses? Yeah. A&M's not a powerhouse.
They're 11th, by the way.
Yeah, I saw. And Michigan's what?
7th.
How? What? And what's Florida?
That quarterback. They like him. They still do. I don't know why. I liked him a lot too, but he's. I don't think he's the answer.
Florida's like
8th.
8th. I mean, yeah. We're in a year. Florida was really close to losing like 5 games. Like they were about to lose that South Carolina game,
yeah.
And Felipe Franks would have lost his job, and then who knows what happens. But they come back. Good for them. Beat the tar out of Florida State. Beat the tar out of Michigan, and all of a sudden they're the 8th best team in the country. Come on, man. I don't know. I just think it's different than it was.
It is.
I'm not saying it's worse, although it is.
Because
of the money. But it's different.
There is that stat, though, and I don't have it up, and I'm sorry, I should have had it up. But I think Corey was going to go down this path. About, the last 7 or 8 years, there's always been a team either in the top 5 or the preseason top 10. There's always at least been 1 or 2 teams that ends up losing 3 or more games. Florida State had that indignity in 2017, being ranked 3rd in the nation. Preseason then ended up,
Florida State or Florida in 2013 was like number 8 or number 10, and they went 4-8.
Michigan was that team, I think, maybe in 16 or something like that. So there's always a team in that either the top 5 or the top 10 that ends up losing 3 games. And you look at this and you're like, man, LSU is going to definitely lose 3 games probably. I don't know what's going on in the Big Ten, but I feel like Ohio State is going to have a bit of a drop off. I don't know about Michigan, Florida. I think Florida's like the sexy. I don't know if it's because the sort of the bubble that we live in, but Florida seems to be the sexy pick to end up vomiting all over themselves this season, which would be kind of cool to see. But yeah, it is weird because you look at the top. I mean, you see Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and then I feel like that's a significant drop off. Oklahoma to Ohio State, then to LSU, then to Michigan, to Florida, like to what you're saying. I mean, 15th ranked Utah. Like, what are they going to really win the Pac-12 and make the playoff? Is Washington really going to win the Pac-12 and make the playoff somehow over these teams? Iowa 19th, Syracuse 22nd.
There's just a lot of there's 2 great programs. Georgia's on the cusp, but I wouldn't call them great yet because they haven't done it long enough. You have 2 great programs and a bunch of just kind of average ones right now. I wouldn't call LSU a great program, or Utah, or A&M, or Florida. None of those are great programs. They're good to okay, and that's what college football is now. That's what I meant by watered down. You don't have, to me anyway, you don't have 14 to 18 teams that what you would call that's a good football team. You have 3. But what are you going to do?
Last question before then. I want to talk about Last Chance U, if you don't mind. Maybe do
sure.
5-10 minutes on Last Chance U.
Are you done?
No, I'm not done.
Oh.
We have 37 minutes, at least maybe 2.5 more minutes about Florida State Central because we spent 7 minutes talking about Zaxby's. By the way, I just RSVP'd, so they're expecting us. They're expecting me.
Okay.
I said the Cora will probably be with me as well, so no pressure. I don't know how much depth charts really move around. I kind of be curious. Maybe I'll do that tonight, and I'll report back on Monday. I kind of want to go back and look at day 1 of camp last year, of preseason camp, and eventually who ended up starting. Because, everyone wants to, let's use Juwan Williams as an example. For as disappointing and as dismal of a season as he had last year, he ran with the first team day 1 spring.
Yep.
So he wasn't second team, he wasn't third team. He was with the first team on day 1, and I don't know how much that really changed. I don't know. Of the starting 22, how many do you think will be out there with the ones today on Friday?
You're talking about the starting 22 against Boise?
Yeah.
They'll
run with the ones, and they'll
run with the ones.
Start on
Well, let's
Saturday
say starting
night.
20, because let's say that Terry and Minshew get their jobs back when they're healthy.
Okay.
So out of the 20 spots, I would say like 16, 17.
Okay.
I think it'll be
a big number. I was going to put like 12.5 as the overall.
No, I think they know. I think Nasruddin's probably going to start.
Man, you're really gassing up.
But like the guys that are starting at linebacker, I think if it's 3 of them out there, I think 2 of them will be starters. If it's 4 linebackers out there, I think 3 of them will be the starters they got. I think they have the spring gave them a good idea of who they like. And, I think it's a matter of injury-wise or if some guy just has an awesome camp. Like the freshman that was so good in the spring at linebacker that made all the plays.
McCray.
Yeah, nobody really expected that to happen. So I'm interested to see where he is on the depth chart when we start. I guess Jackson, Dontavius is another guy. I didn't mention him earlier. That I feel like he's probably got himself a cemented role as a starter.
Right. I would say I'll take the under on that, maybe.
Of my 16, 17?
Yeah.
If you count Terry and Minshew, I'd say 19.
I guess it does make sense. I mean, they got to know what they have on the offensive line by and large.
Yeah, but that's the one I think that could be the biggest,
really?
the biggest churn because you're hey, let's see how you do in a scrimmage. If you get worked in a scrimmage, okay, man, we can't
can't win with them. Can't do it.
You're fine in shorts, but once you start trying to block these guys, you can't do it. We can't play with you, man. We can't. I think that gets more illuminated as you go on in camp. So I think that's the one where you could see maybe 2 or 3 changes from what we see on Friday or what we saw on Friday.
Very well. All right, folks, all that over on warchant.com. As, again, we record this on a Thursday.
Subscribe if you're a student.
Yes.
Send your email.
And we see it every time I log into our email account. I see all the students emailing like, yo, let me get that promo code, kid.
Especially when does school start back up? That's probably something we should know. That's when we should really pump that out.
Speaking of it, when school does start, I think they're already back to those hours. I should probably confirm. But that Zaxby's on Tennessee Street across from campus, like between the Strip and Bullwinkles. I think it's like going to 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah,
so
kids take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Fuel up.
Imagine being able to leave the bar, be a little lubed up, and then get to go to Zaxby's.
Walk over.
Just
there.
get to walk to Zaxby's, man.
But
that's like real good food, not the other stuff that might be open at that time.
That's probably what I would have found my wife if it was around when I was an undergrad.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Better right there.
Your whole life would be different.
It looks like the schedule they sent us, Saturday's the last day on the calendar for this practice. So I'm thinking there's no way school starts on the 27th. That's way too late.
I wouldn't think. Why don't you tell everybody bye while I look it up?
No, I'm not. We're going to talk about
and then we'll do the.
We're going to dovetail right to it, man. We don't have to take a commercial break. This is a podcast, brother.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
Brought to you by boxofawesome.com. Check out Box of Awesome.
You can people that don't want to listen to Last Chance You talk. You can tell them, hey.
Well, you're dismissed. If you're just here for the Florida State stuff, we're done. But Last Chance You, have you watched the entire?
Looks like August 27th.
Oh, really? That's the first day of school. I mean, that's Monday. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep, term August 27th. It ends December 14th.
That would make sense because that last practice that's open to us is at 7 p.m. and they're probably not going to practice that late once school's in session.
Probably not.
So the 4th season, they did 2 at EMCC, East Mississippi Community College in Scuba, and then they moved to Independence, Kansas. Last year was there, and then they did it this year as well. So you've watched all of it?
Yeah.
Okay, I did as well yesterday. I wrapped it up on Wednesday.
I just asked you if you'd finished it, and you said no.
Just now?
Like 6 minutes ago I asked you that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I remember you asked me the last time we were together.
No, literally I just asked you that, and you said no.
My bad. No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was probably looking at my phone.
As soon as you brought it up, like, can we have some Last Chance You talk? Oh, did you finish it? And you said no.
Really?
And I'm like, well, that's weird. Then what are we talking about?
Side note on that, you know the coolest thing about weddings, and I'm in a wedding, my best friend's getting married. He got engaged literally 10 days ago, and he's getting married already. That's how he rolls. It's just the male camaraderie, all the friends that you text and you guys never really message each other back, but then you start a big group chat, and then everybody's sending gifts and tweeting back and forth. It's my kids, they're still here.
The good old days, yeah.
The good old days. All right, so I almost didn't watch the last episode because I just wanted to go out on just them being just all the sort of the dark cloud hanging over them. I didn't because I kind of know how the season ends. Obviously,
I didn't remember that they had such a terrible season.
I remember
talking about that when it happened because I remember you saying, "Did you know they went 2-8?" Right. And I'm like, "What are they going to do on Netflix? That's crazy."
My favorite part of the season was I forgot what episode it was, but they did this great job of. So they show you they do it. They do a Hard Knock style for every game. They spend a good 15 minutes, it feels like, of every episode showing you the actual game, right? the antithesis of what the Showtime show was, right? Like, we're just going to show 3 minutes of a football game, and then, hey, how about this cheerleader?
Right, yeah. Or look how they polished the tuba.
I love Florida State. It's great being a cheerleader at Florida State. Cool. And they set it up so great where it was just, they're like, listen, the back's against the wall. We'll just go out there and play for each other, man. Let's just have fun again. Let's get our swag back. And everyone's like, yeah, let's get our swag back. And they show them at practice, like, Biggie, like, yeah, let's go, man. Come on, let's go. And then it's like, and it's like, the Independence Pirates lose again.
Yeah.
And that was so well shot and edited that I'm just like, damn, man. It was just, what a brutal season for them. I keep reading all these things about the coach. So I think he's defending himself, but I think he makes a good point because we all criticize him. Like, just dudes watching the show. Like, you never see his own players tweeting bad about him. I mean, not that I follow a lot of them, but, being on Twitter and following people that are in tune and retweet a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I've never seen a player from that program be like, he's a complete jerk. I hate that guy, scumbag,
yeah,
blah, blah, blah,
and
blah.
unlike the first coach, the Buddy guy from East Mid, that guy was unlikable, wholly unlikable. Like, he would criticize
not holy
them,
as in, like, religiously.
no,
but like,
holy, WHOLLY.
Yeah, completely.
Like, he would criticize his players for losing their cool, and then he would go attack a referee.
Oh.
And then he was such an ass to that offensive coordinator that seemed like a really nice dude and fired him. It's like, get your ass in the box. Get out of here. You're done. Whatever he would say. Like, I hated that guy. This guy's a little different. He's still mostly unlikable.
Right.
But I do understand where he came from. I do understand how he grew up. With his background, and he feels like that's his best way to communicate with those guys. It's the only way he knows how to communicate. He obviously needs to dial it down. He will never be a coach at a Power 5 school, ever. That just can't happen. I don't know if he realized that when he did the show. I think he thought, man, Netflix is coming here. I'm gonna be A&M's next coach. Kansas is gonna hire me. I'm gonna be the offensive coordinator at Kansas. Man, when you're shown talking like that, zero chance. A lot of high school or a lot of football coaches say those same words. Most likely, They don't talk like him necessarily. They don't present themselves like he does. They don't care what people say about him on Twitter like he obviously did, because half of the show is him reading tweets to himself, replies to himself.
Part of that, too, I feel like he probably gets set up for that, too. I think the producers are like, hey, what are you doing? And he might be like, I'm reading a tweet. Or he could mention it.
I don't know if he gets the benefit of the doubt, though. He seems like a guy that relishes that.
Yeah.
But you can't. I mean, there's evidence of the way he talks and the way he interacts with people that there's no way a board of trustees will be like, oh, yeah, we're going to pay this guy $1.2 million to wear our logo. Oh, yeah, sure. So that was a misstep by him to think that would ever happen, but it probably was never going to happen anyway. So he's a little more likable than the last guy, but only because the last guy was just seemed like an awful human being. I don't know, man. What's his name? Jason
Brown.
Man, just you can't. I don't know. But I also get that JUCO is different, man. Yeah. Those are different types of kids. I remember Rick Trickett. I think you weren't here yet. Yeah, you weren't, because Trickett was still here. It was because Clint was on the show. Clint was the QB coach there one year. And we asked him about it the one time we got to talk to him at Media Day. We asked him about that show, and he's like, man, he goes, I tried to watch some of it, but I couldn't. He goes, those guys, I could not watch those kind of players be like that. I could not handle it. Like the way they were, there's no way I could coach them. Because, again, it was the kid that's like, I didn't out on my pencil or falling asleep and everything, that just no respect for where they are or what they're trying to do. So I get that JUCO's different. But he wasn't all that. It's funny that he got booted for what he got booted for. A kid that wasn't even in the show, didn't even know he was there, when he could have been booted for probably 5 or 6 different things. Just the way he talks about, let's go bleep 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 bleep, bleep, and then let's take a big bleep beep on their bleep. It just the way he would talk about those. And no, it's not bleeped out in the show. I just wear a family show. It's crazy that you would talk to 19-year-olds like that.
Well, every pregame speech was like, let's go out there and punch them in the mouth. Let's step on their throat. Let's beat the crap. Like this, we're making it into like fight. Everything's just about like punch them, hurt them, make them scared. Like, that's
Well, and he
That's
brought Malik. And why did he bring Malik back?
why did he get rid of Malik? What did Malik do wrong this time? They didn't show. I mean, I don't know what Malik really did this time. What was that quarterback he brought from? First off, the kid from Georgia Tech. What are you doing committing to Georgia Tech? You'd be like, I didn't realize they ran the ball all the time.
That's
Like,
red flag number one.
What kind of
It's like,
research are you doing?
do you not get on the internet at all?
And he
Have
comes
you
from-
watched a game?
Yeah, he come from a good family. Mom and dad are both there. They're involved. They're going to his games. Like they didn't look at any of the tape from Paul Johnson. Like,
No, I
hey,
mean, he got rid of Malik because Malik is on the show last year saying this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's a clown. I should be calling the offense. I mean, you can't. When that's on there. It's not like it's in the air that somebody said that. There's proof of Malik completely, completely usurping your authority and telling everybody around him this is crazy that he's calling plays. This guy's a idiot.
Thank you.
Then you bring him back.
Yeah.
So what does that say? Plus, you think you have a guy that the kids do like. Now he might not be as good as Malik, but Malik ain't great either. Yeah. Malik throws off his back foot like he's only got one foot. So and wasn't good in the games they played. So why bring him back when you won your first game? I think you're getting ready to play your second game.
Well, there was one of the games where he's like, if I would have started Malik, we would have won the game. He's like, we would have won the game by 30. He's like, but I got integrity. Yeah.
I got integrity. I can't do it. But you tell your team that you're not bringing him to play. He's just going to redshirt and be a practice guy. When you're telling him something different, and then he does end up playing, like everybody knew he'd end up playing. It's just that was an odd decision. And he regretted it at the end of the. I remember in the middle of that game, the coach comes up to him, and is like, "Man, Malik's the same guy. He's the exact same guy." Because I'm sure he heard Malik talking about how Jason Brown doesn't know what he's doing. Because that's how Malik is. When things don't go well for Malik, it's somebody else's fault.
Right.
A pass that he throws that's the kid has to leap for from 4 yards away. He says, "Oh, I hit him right in the hands."
Yeah.
It's like, man, that's who you are. It's never Malik Henry's fault, ever. And he's that kid again. And the problem with Malik is he's smart. Like it's the dummy coach at Scuba. I mean, he's just a dummy coach. Jason Brown to me is a bit of a dummy. Malik Henry has intelligence, and that's what makes him almost worse, in my opinion.
Right.
Like he's really
conscientiously.
He might be the most unlikable kid
I was about to say
any
that.
of the shows ever, because he's smart.
And
he's smart enough to know.
Man, because I want to like him, and I'm just like, God, you can't. Like when they asked him about the whole red shirt thing, all you gotta be is like, I don't know, I don't remember what he's like. That's not what he said. I mean, like,
yeah, of course.
And he stalled for 30 seconds. Like, all right, good way to be mature, Malik.
And he's got to be Malik.
And it's like,
so good luck, Nevada. Hope it works out for him, man. Hope it works out for you.
Jimbo, what were you thinking?
It's really bizarre.
I mean, he looked. I don't care. I'll take it to the grave. I'll die on the hill. He looked better than everybody in 2015 in that spring game. He did in Orlando.
16, right?
16.
16.
Yeah,
he did. And I said that. And then Ira and Jeff would always say, "No, man, he was just throwing little screen passes." I'm like, "No, man.
No.
There were a few where he stood in the pocket. He had the best arm by far,
yes.
And he made some really nice throws and got rid of the ball quick. But tellingly, when I asked Jimbo after that spring game, I thought, man, I'm like, man, this could be another Jameis. And you'd heard everything about him. He enrolled early. And I'm like, hey, man, how good can Malik Henry be? Like, that was really impressive. I asked him that in the press conference. And he's like, well, slow down now. He didn't really say that with Jameis as much. He's like, slow down. Like, he's still got a lot of growing up to do. And I thought he meant like on the field. Obviously, he didn't. Malik had some talent. And if he could have, I don't know, handled adversity better than he did and whatever else was going on in his life, that's a kid that you're always it's going to be a huge what if, because he had NFL talent. Maybe he still does, but man, come on. To me, it's too far gone now. He is who he is at this point.
They need to have somebody come in there. It's like all these, I can't imagine these kids to talk about.
Well, they're going to go. I bet they're going to go to what's his name next? The guy that was screaming at him.
From Garden City, Jeff Sims.
I bet he'll be the next one.
Maybe. He seems a little too. I think you talk about smart. I think he realizes just how big of a jerk he'd be if they followed him around all the time, and it's not worth it.
Probably, yeah, you're probably right. But it's a great recruiting tool.
I don't even think like 55-year-old Bobby Bowden would lose his mind coaching kids in Independence, Kansas.
Oh, you can, yeah. And Jeff Sims even says that. I mean, he makes himself look like a complete ass when he wins that game and then talks all the noise he talks walking off the field. But he even says it afterward. He's like, man, JUCO's different. You got to be a different kind of cat to coach these guys, man. And so I get it. Imagine Jimbo coaching. I mean, you'd lose your mind. You would lose your mind.
What is the worst part of all this, though, is like they show the academic side of things, obviously, and then these kids still talking about wanting to go play pro. And it's like, man, you're in this school in Iowa, and you're in this Jayhawk conference, and there's like 8 other teams, and all these kids, Kansas, sorry, and these kids think they're going to also go pro, all right? And then there's Mississippi, and they have their own brand of junior college football. And there's Arizona, there's California. They all think they're going to bounce back, go D1, and then play NFL football. And then it's like, hey, like knock on the door. Hey, dude, do you realize there's 136 Division I, like FCS, FBS football teams out there? All those kids think they're going to go to the NFL too. Like, how can you be second string at Independence Community College and think that the NFL is in your future? And then that just blows my mind that these kids don't get it hammered to them. Like, listen, you're going to play football here for a few more years. Cool. Maybe you can go play somewhere and get your school paid for. Cool. But like that's the end of the line for most of you. I mean, I can't even imagine the hit rate for kids in junior college playing in the NFL. And I know Walter Jones is one of those kind of guys, but just watch that Kalen Davis guy. I would get so, like the whole Matthew Thomas saga, I was so upset about leading up to the Alabama game. I'm like, just get like somebody at that university. I don't care. My name's on the diploma. I get it. That's my alma mater. Just get the damn kid eligible. Just somebody there, just sign an A over. Just say that he aced something. Get him eligible. And then you watch this, and I don't think it's to that degree what student athletes at Division I programs go through to get academically eligible. But you just see these kids. I want to read that paper he wrote.
Well, no, I don't. And,
I want to read that paper he wrote.
Again, he was a kid.
And what do you think of your Arkansas State? And not that Arkansas State, sorry, Jonesboro, Arkansas, not that they're the most, the hallmark, the pillar of academic, ingenuity and excellence. But like, what do you think if you're an Arkansas State alum and you see that kid got into your school?
Well, sure. But I mean, that's a whole different conversation about how to get eligible to play college football at any of these schools. But that kid, for like most of the show, I was like, man, I don't. This kid is not. They're trying to make him likable. Like,
I liked him. I did like him.
I hated how he was.
He's got no shot.
He was
though.
right on the cusp of being likable and trying hard, and then they'd show him again, and he didn't have his glasses.
Right.
And he's just, I'm sorry, go get him, and he's just moseying on back, like somewhere along the line, he's going to get another shot in another. Man, this is it. But I get it.
Show's called Last Chance U, buddy.
Yeah, man, you're not going to – this is it. You need to take advantage. But then what flipped it for me with him was the way the teacher – I apologize because there's 2 prominent teachers in this, 3 really, the dude as well, the white guy.
Ms. Maidosh, the English teacher.
I was going to say the bigger white woman, but that's who I was talking about. She was – but I liked her. She was a good character.
Yeah.
She's good. I shouldn't say character. It's her. But when she reacted to him, not so much as paper – but that he did all the references correctly. He tried. He did all the references correctly, and she almost starts tearing up. It's like he was listening. Yeah. It's like, well, okay, well, that's a cool moment, man. That's a cool moment, and I hope that kid goes on and gets a degree and becomes a success. The odds are Arkansas State is not a pipeline to the NFL, but at least he gets a chance, if he tries, gets a chance to play college football.
What I was trying to say in that rambling mess there basically is that I've always been such a player apologist. I'm such an athlete apologist. Like, I always take the player's side on things.
Yeah, me too, mostly.
And I watch this, and now I'm like, man, I don't know. Like if you're an academic ineligible player at this level, like at a Florida State, like you are actively getting in the way of your own success. Like there's no way that the deck's stacked against you and people aren't helping you. Everybody's trying to help you out, and like you still fail.
And I think we both agree. We come from the place that we understand where like a Dalvin Cook or a Devontae Freeman comes from. Education is not important. Maybe they don't have role models that show them how much education is important. The only reason they go to class at all is to hopefully be eligible for football, so they can have a football future. And that's how it is in a lot of poor communities. It just is. Education, academics are not important. You weren't taught study habits.
Doesn't matter, man.
No, that's what I'm saying. So that's how I've always viewed it, is like, look, the schools are using them a lot more than they're using the schools. And that's 100% true. That's 500% true. These schools, by and large, don't care if they graduate. They care if they score touchdowns. That's why they're here. At the same time, at some point, when you're 20, 21, 19 years old, you have to do it yourself. You have to. Yeah. You can't just blame – or not even blame, because I don't think they're blaming. They don't even realize it. At some point, it has to matter to you. Your life and your choices have to matter to you. How are you going to be defined as a person? Are you going to be the guy that the teachers all make fun of and the kids in the class make fun of because you're always asleep? You never take anything seriously. You never turn in your homework. That's cool with you. Or do you want to take another step, man, and turn things around? And I know I'm preaching now.
No.
I'm talking to my son, but I have had this conversation with my son who gets straight B's.
Wake up, Brady.
Yeah, well, you get straight B's in 5th grade when he's, got a really high IQ. Not to brag about my kid, but he does, that makes it more.
Fact.
That makes it more infuriating. It's like, okay, man, do you just want to be a B student? You want to go through life being a B student? Okay, man,
That's just above average. What's wrong with being above average?
Man, it's not in 5th grade for him with that IQ. He should be embarrassed to not get straight A's.
Look at that. All right,
should
Brady.
be. You should be.
Tighten up.
And I tell him that, man, that's ridiculous to get B's. How do you get B's in the 5th grade? You can. Anyway,
what do we got? We got a Mensa guy over here on the couch with me right now.
I'm just saying, it's all. If he's getting B's in the 5th grade, what's it going to be like in the 8th grade? That's hard. It gets harder. 10th grade is hard. 5th grade is the easiest grade he's ever going to have for the rest of his life, and he's having to struggle to get B's. So I've had this conversation with him. I'm like, who do you want to be? Do you want to be a kid that we have to constantly get on to about studying and doing your homework and getting good grades? Or do you want to be somebody that you're proud of? And same thing with these guys, man. It's like, okay, you're at junior college. You've got a year or 2 years to get it right, and this is your life. And they're just young. Youth is wasted on the young. They don't understand that the rest of their life is will be defined by how they handle their 18 months in Independence, Kansas. It will be. The kid that went to Georgia, he handled his business. Now, I'm sure he wasn't as hurt as he let out to believe, but when they were 2-4, he's like, I'm not playing here anymore. I'm not risking this. I get that. But, those guys get it. They take advantage of their situation. They do what they have to do, and they get on. But some of these guys, it's like you have to hit them with you have to smack them with a newspaper to say, man, wake up. Wake up. This is your life. Your whole life is dictated by these 18 months. Try once. Just try and see how it feels.
How long were you married to Shanna?
Jeez. What? All right, folks.
No.
That's
That's weird. That was weird. No. The answer. There's the
10
defensive,
years, 11 years?
The defensive coordinator who lived on campus. Like, that's got to be that's
love.
love.
My word.
That is
love.
love.
I wanted to talk to her like, you could just leave, go back. Y'all can manage. Y'all can do a long distance thing. Your girls don't want to. You shouldn't have your girls there.
I couldn't imagine raising a family in a college dorm.
Not even that kind of dorm. Looks like a nuclear fallout shelter in Independence, Kansas.
Speaking of which, we still got to talk about Chernobyl later at some point.
Oh gosh, how long are we?
No, we're not gonna do it today.
Right.
That poor coach. I don't know how. He gets the play calling duty stripped from him, gets fired, then he gets rehired. Where does he resurface, Jason Brown?
Oh, another JUCO somewhere.
Right.
I'm sure. He can't take that step into NCAA sanctioned world.
How could you think that? Though? You mentioned the first thing when we started talking about that. Maybe that's
100% why he was. Well, number one, it was going to help recruiting, and he knew it because it was a big show and people wanted to be on a reality show. But also, I think he thought that he was going to get a Division I job out of it.
Why wouldn't you see what Buddy Stevens has done and then realize that's not going to happen? Buddy Stevens has won national titles, plural.
But he's
also still at Scuba.
And he's also a villain.
Yeah.
And you're going to be a villain. Yeah. You're going to be a villain. That's how you're going to be portrayed because you know that most of us don't like watching somebody your age talk to 19-year-olds like that. We just don't. It's uncomfortable. But they apparently they all liked him for the most part.
I also like when they ran out with his dog. They ran out and the dog went crazy.
They started jumping.
Dog.
That was smart.
All right, we're done. Practice is going down, or it's done when you're listening to this. Everything you know about practice will be waiting for you at warchant.com. We're done. I'm going to Tampa for my buddy's wedding, man. I've known the kid since 4th grade, and he made me promise that if I ever got married, I'd let him be my best man because he's got 2 brothers, and one of the brothers got married.
Has he been married before, though?
Yeah, but he's never had a wedding, though.
Oh, okay.
He's always eloped. And so his brother got married, and he was only a groomsman. He was not the best man. So
have they all been shotgun weddings like this?
My buddy?
2 weeks?
The 2 previous ones?
I guess
probably.
Does shotgun wedding imply that the wife is pregnant?
Is
that what a shotgun wedding is?
I don't know.
I know they're quick, but I wasn't sure if they just made it.
Well, I think the first one, they were in Colorado with her family, on a vacation. And I think they somehow went to Vegas, and they got eloped in Vegas. The second one, I think he got married at a courthouse in Chicago, and this one he's actually home in Tampa. But anyhow, yeah, like so he made me like promise me, like, if you ever get married, he's like, I have to be your best man, because I'm never going to be a best man, because my brother got married and I wasn't his best man.
Right.
My other brother's probably never going to get married. I'm like, all right, I got you. And then he's getting married, and I'm not his best man.
Well, hey.
I'm a groomsman though. So.
Well, you made the cut.
Who
is the best man?
I'm assuming his brother probably that didn't make him his best man.
Oh, well.
And I've got a brother, and I love my brother, but my brother's not going to be my best man.
Who is? Ira? Austin?
Ira.
Yeah, Ira will be. Yeah, that's fair.
We're done. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Love you guys.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.